All right, quarter four, week two. We're going to learn a little bit more about groups and also about default values and inheritance. First, quick thing about groups. So, whatever, in most languages, um, you can put one type of group inside another type of group. So, here I've made something called a vector. Now, when you're in your geometry class, your teacher may or may not talk about vectors. Vectors don't actually show up a lot in the math you do in school, but in computer programming, they're really important, especially for 3D applications. So a lot of the math behind the scenes in Alice, for instance, was in vectors and also in matrices, they're called. But I won't go too deep. I'm just going to say it's a good way to keep track of position and speed and other things like that. So in this group that I've made called car, I have I've put another group called 3D vector. And if it's too confusing for you, it's fine. It's just think of it as one group, the 3D vector, inside another group. And this group keeps track of where the car is and how fast it's going. For those of you who actually are trying to understand more about vectors, velocity is speed in a certain direction, and then the x, y, and z tell me what direction uh, the car is going, and also kind of tells us also how fast it's going if I use more math. But anyway, that's besides the point for coding. So back to coding. Um, Here, and then notice inside car, I've given these variables some default values. Now, why have I done this? Most programming languages, well, the faster programming languages, usually the faster it is, the less safe it is. So, um, the thing is, though, if you want to use faster programming languages, you have to understand that everything needs to have a value. So if you just put a variable somewhere and you just say, hey, it's just a string make inside of car, and I don't put anything here, then the thing is, if I try to use make later, then it's going to be like, you're not allowed to touch this memory because this memory doesn't exist and it's going to crash. And that happened in Alice. That happened in many, many, many programs that if you get unexplained crashes, it's probably because they're trying to access something that hasn't been given a value yet. Even if it's something really simple like, hey, this doesn't have a name yet. Or this, notice that I just put quotation marks here. That means, hey, there's no name. I haven't put anything for the make yet, but there's something there that the computer can say, hey, that's what the value is. All right, so that's the default value. In fact, let me put it right here. Default values. Now, the other thing is, I've got, ooh, that's a mistake. All right, so I've got other variables down here. They also have to do with the physics of the card. I'm not going to go into them. But if I wanted to, put these variables into the car group, then the thing is I need default values for them too. So notice I don't have default values for this. But when I created the 3D vector group, I put default values for x, y, and z. So now when position is created, when I create the 3D vector position, it already has these as the default values. And that actually happens most of the time in most languages too. Same for velocity and same for grav center. All right, now that's it for default values. Again, we'll be having help sessions for anybody who needs help. The assignment will be, I will explain the assignment more in the second video.